Welcome to our online discussion, everyone. I hope you're all safe and well wherever you are. So today is going to be an interactive discussion. So I think it would be great if you could sort of switch on your videos, and because then we can all see each other and have a lively discussion. Currently, all of you are muted. So if you would like to, ask a question at some point, then what you could do is you could just click on participants and raise your hand. And then what I'll do is I'll unmute you, and then we can, have the discussion. Now, before we, move on to have our discussion, I'm going to quickly introduce Asta and myself to all of you, give you a little bit of background to QLTS Geek as well. Post that, Asta is going to talk a little bit more about, the updates to the SQE and QLTS. That's going to be super useful because there's just so much of lack of clarity out there. So definitely that's going to be an enlightening presentation. Great. So a little bit about ourselves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And then we can, okay. Okay, so I'm not sure why I don't seem to be able to share my screen all of a sudden. Okay. Did somebody raise their hands? Can you see my screen, Asta?
No, currently.
No, right? Okay. I'm not sure why it's just not working all of a sudden. I've never really faced this issue. Okay, now it is. Perfect. So, great. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Okay, so you can see my screen now, all of you? You can probably just chat, perfect. Yeah, a thumbs up if you can. Okay. So now before quick introduction to ourselves, I'm not going to waste time here, but I am a corporate lawyer based in the UAE, and I cleared the QLTS and registered as a solicitor in 2018. Asta is a lawyer based in Germany, and she also cleared the QLTS and registered as a solicitor in 2019. A little bit about QLTS Geek. So I actually founded QLTS Geek in 2018, and it was a very basic app at that moment. Like it just has currently flashcards on OSCE subjects. But now we have Asta on board, and we've been working towards upgrading the app and adding a lot more features. So our new website is actually live, and our new app is also going to be live very soon. So watch this space. Since all of you have registered for today's discussion, you will definitely get emails with early bird access and with some good discounts as well. So just keep a watch out on your email for this. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram as well, because that's where we're most active, and you'll get to know more about updates on the launch of the app. So that's it. I'm going to keep my introduction quite short, and I'm going to hand over, the platform to Asta, and she's going to basically tell us a little bit more about the SQE and the QLTS, because I'm quite, we're all sort of quite confused. So Asta, why don't you, let us know a little bit about what's happening on the SQE front and how it affects foreign lawyers.
Yes, thank you so much, Priyasha. I hope everyone can hear me fine. So hi from my side.
Hear you.
Okay. Hi from my side too, and I hope you're having a great Sunday. I will get right into our discussion topic, which is the update on the SQE, the Solicitors Qualifying Examination. If we move to the next slide, Priyasha, thank you. The SQE is the new national examination for all the prospective solicitors who will need to pass to qualify in England and Wales. So when is it coming into effect? It is coming into effect in 2021. What we know from the Solicitor Regulatory Authority is from autumn of 2021 to be precise. It will consist of 2 stages. So it will be stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 will focus on the legal knowledge. It is very similar to the MCT, current MCT part of the QLTS route. And the stage 2 will be judging the practical legal skill, very similar to, again, the OSCE part of the QLTS route. Just a bit more about the SQE. SQE 1 will include, the first stage will include 2 exams that will be multiple choice, following the same pattern as the current MCT route. It will consist of 360 questions divided into 2 assessments of 180 questions each, likely to run across 2 days. For SQE 2 as well, it will judge the legal skills, which is the application of law in form of role plays, in the form of written work, etc. So what exactly changes for the foreign qualified lawyers? After the introduction of the SQE, the QLTS will no longer be available as a route to qualifying as a solicitor in England and Wales. Candidates who will complete part of the QLTS, the MCT part of the exam, will have 1 year as a transition period to complete the OSCE. So we are looking at autumn of November 2022 for complete elimination of the QLTS route.
I have a question here. Sorry, Asta. Like, do we know when is the last MCT for QLTS? Because right now, all I see on the Kaplan's website is that, you know, the last MCT is going to be on, I think, sometime in January or February of 2021. So do we know if there's going to be another one in July?
As because of yes, Priya, so it's on the Kaplan website, it's 2021 January. However, we know from because of the COVID situation, there will be a lot more demand to Kaplan, and so it could be that next year in July there is another session, or some subsequent to January 2021, there's 1 more or 2 more sessions because of the new situation due to COVID. We don't know for sure.
True. Yeah, I think we would have to err on the side of caution, because they seem to be quite intent on introducing SQE from 2021. So it might be the case that they'll strictly follow that, and the MCT. Yeah, I mean, we really don't have any information, and I think they'll only issue any updates maybe towards the end of the year. So it's too soon for us to say anything.
Yes. What we definitely know is the first.
Okay. Did we lose you, Asta? Okay,
so
yeah, perfect. Yeah.
What we know for sure is that the SQE 1 is likely to be November 2021. This has been published by the SRA as well. So this is one clarity we have. Regarding the fee structure, I was also asked by some candidates previously, would the fee structure be similar to the QLTS? What we've seen is that it will range from 3,000 to 4,500 GBP, which is similar for the QLTS as well. So yes, SQE is coming soon, but for for the candidates to make an informed decision, there are some points to be considered on why is it now the right time to enroll for the QLTS. So we will take you through that as well, what we thought would give you an idea and also enable you to make a good decision. Priyasha, can we move to the next slide? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So the key, there are 4 considerations. The key one is the QLTS exemptions, as we've already discussed, that the SRA will allow the part qualified QLTS candidates an additional year to complete the QLTS, which means that if you have done the MCT or you will do the MCT this year, you will have next year to complete your OSCE as well. What another thing is that there will be, what we see is additional competition. The SQE will assess all the aspiring solicitors, whether they are UK university law graduates, non-law graduates, apprentice, legal executive, paralegals, or foreign qualified lawyers, regardless of their background. So there will be additional competition, which is as compared to the existing QLTS route. For the expanded exam scope, we won't go too much into detail because it's a topic for its own webinar. But we've seen is that the stage 1 of the new, which will introduce new areas, which we haven't seen in the MCT, dispute resolution, legal services, land laws, in addition to the existing property law practice will be added. And the questions are double as well. So the duration of the exam is also double that of MCT, which is 11 hours. For the stage 2, again, there are new areas added. However, what is interesting is to see that there's a new skill set will be tested, which is the case and matter analysis, which we haven't seen in the past with the existing QLTS model. Practice areas are broader, but there are some choices, which is different from the current QLTS system. And the fourth one is the restriction on the number of attempts. We know that for the QLTS, there's unlimited number of attempts you can do. But for the SQE, there are only 3 attempts per assessment stage in a 6-year period, which will be allowed. So we're not saying that SQE will be harder or complex because we don't know that. However, if you still have the choice or chance, it will be good to use the current QLTS route. We can now actually open the floor for you guys, especially the ones who are still doing their law graduation. If they have made up their mind, they have preferences or any further questions, we are happy to answer them. So please raise your hand on Zoom on the text or the text section. You can write your questions.
Yeah, actually, I have, maybe a question here because, the sort of sense is that there's going to be SQE could be a little bit more complex because, let's say SQE1 has more, questions. It has like about 360 questions, and maybe the topic area is a little more diverse as well. And you're going to be, I guess, competing with, they could be making the questions a little more tougher, don't you think? Because, they're also testing UK university graduates. So there's a lot more onus on the SRA to have a good exam, So because people are saying that it's going to be a little more complex. What do you think about that?
It is, of course, we will have to wait and see. The only thing is, yes, it's an unknown territory. That is for sure. It's nothing which we know of from the QLTS system. So we will have to wait and see on how SQE will develop. But it'll be very hard for now to conclude on if it will be harder or complex. But yes, unknown for sure and uncertain.
Yeah, so actually what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna stop sharing, and then I think there's a question from Sachin. So I'm gonna, Sachin, you can ask your question.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Priyansha, and hi, Astha. Now, to tell something about myself, I'm a 2004 batch from Delhi University. I'm currently in Delhi. I practiced with an IP law firm for about over 10 years. And in 2013, I became an advocate on record with the Supreme Court. I cleared that exam. And currently for last 4 or 5 years, I've been, I've set up my own small law firm, which have about 3 to 4 people. And I primarily practice in the intellectual property, field. And I have a good practice, I would say. So, one of my friends who's currently also attending your webinar, who's Maulik Brahmbhatt, MB, he actually talked to me about this, and I was not very sure whether it's really for me. So I just want to understand from you that do you really think that people who are like 16 years in profession and who have set up some kind of a small office and doing decent practice, should they be actually taking this exam?
Well, I could maybe give you my views, and Astha could also share her views. I would say, again, if you're practicing IP in India and you have your own practice, you have no intentions of going outside India, then you might want to just take your time to make a decision, because of course it's it's an investment that you would have to do if you were to take the QLTS or the SQE. because I mean, if you're an English solicitor, typically you'd have to. I mean, it sort of makes a lot of sense if you're looking at it from an international perspective. Like if you're moving out of India and going to practice in, let's say, Singapore, UK, or even the UAE, then definitely you would get more attention. But if you're just practicing in India, then I would say take a time to take the decision, because you might want to just think about it from a long-term perspective. Because let's say if you were to move in-house, if you wanted to sort of be an in-house legal counsel, then you might get more attention with an English solicitor tag. Again, like I said, it's a tough call, I would say. But if you have your own practice, then then I don't know. I mean, I would say that you'll have to think about it before you actually take the leap, because when you're your own boss, you might not really need the tag. That's what I think. What do you think, Asta?
I agree, and also it depends on your personal personal preference. For example, when I did it, I really enjoyed the process of doing the exam as well. It's a lot, or it's a good learning curve, especially when I have studied in India as well. And it has really helped me to fill the gaps which the Indian legal education wasn't able to sort of fill. And so I really like the process of going through the exam. It's not the easiest. So for me, it was a personal decision. I like learning. I think Priyasha is the same for you.
Yeah.
I like learning, and I thought that I got a lot of there was definitely a lot of knowledge which I couldn't have gotten just from learning law in India and also practicing in Germany. There's a lot of added advantage for me now that I've done the exam.
See, I tell you, learning, I'm sure, is always fun. Now, the thing is that, there are about 3 to 4 lawyers who are working with me currently. Now, because of the lockdown, and I don't see the courts really opening up, I'm basically a litigator. So I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy learning and with a lot of time with me, because, since you're a litigation lawyer, if the courts are closed, you don't have much work. And we do intellectual property, so we don't have too many trademark cases. They're not supposed to be urgent, or the clients. It's like the Delhi High Court, they are actually taking some urgent matters over video conferencing, but the clients are not very, very sure whether they want to really file their cases, because earlier we used to get ex parte orders. Now we have to serve an advance copy to the other side. So the clients don't want to take that chance, and they would want to wait. So I have a lot of time on me, and I was just wondering, see, I do attend these international conferences because IPR is quite global. You have these conferences like Intellectual Property the International Trademark Association, which happens so there's an annual meeting which happens every year in America, and I think for 4 years it happens in America, and then 1 year it would be somewhere in Asia. So I do attend these conferences, and there are lots of there are about 10,000 lawyers coming from all jurisdictions coming together and meeting up. So it's not that I'm really looking for a job outside India. I think I'm quite well settled in India, and I don't know whether but I think it will be an added advantage, don't you think? Like, after I became an advocate on record, I can file my own cases in the Supreme Court. So if I do this course or this exam, maybe, it's always an added advantage, and it helps me somewhere, because money is not so much of a concern. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if money is not a concern, and if you're open to, learning, I mean, and if sort of like learning English law is of interest to you, then definitely I would say it's worth going through the process, because you definitely learn a lot. And like Asta said, even I sort of really enjoyed the whole process of it. It's just that, there are some people who take the QLTS thinking that, oh, it's going to land me my next job. It's just that that's the only part where I would probably just like give a little bit of a warning, saying that it all depends from case to case, and depends on your background and what you want to do with your career. But yeah, I think it sounds like if you're up for it, and if you're attending all these international conferences, if you want to sort of have that international angle to your practice, then definitely, having a solicitor qualification will get you more attention.
Do you have any idea how to become a barrister? As in, because see, I always wanted to study abroad and I couldn't go. I managed to get,
Yeah.
Sometime in 2007, I had some offers, but they were without any scholarship, and my parents were not too keen to spend that money. So I couldn't go in. I had offer from Queen's Mary and King's College and SOAS, but then I couldn't go. Yeah, but then so this is what I was thinking. Maybe, and tomorrow when the Indian the bar council opens up its doors for these foreign law firms, do you think that people would, when they want to shake hands and when they want to set up offices and their shops in India, they would be really looking for people who are like solicitors?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, Sachin. That's a good point. If India does open its doors to international law firms, then they'd be happy to work with somebody who's a solicitor. I don't really know the process for becoming a barrister, but so I don't know, Asta, if you know. But I think maybe we might want to move on to a few questions. Maybe we can get back to the barrister question, because I can see a few other hands, which are raised. So I think Maulik has a question. I can unmute you, Maulik. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Maulik.
Hi. First of all, thank you for this wonderful webinar. My question is, will QLTS help in order to take the training contracts? And can it be a part of a strategy while during a, journey of becoming a solicitor? See, if I am appearing for QLTS, and if I am going to write an interview for a training contracts, so will it help as an Indian solicitor? I mean, as an Indian advocate.
Asta, you want to take this question?
I have, yes, there's no right or wrong, I think, answer for this one. And no, I can't say for sure. But what I know from other people I've spoken with in the past, they have been able to get jobs in London law firms, good ones as well, when they were doing the course. So QLTS route. So yes, there's a possibility, but can't give a full conclusive answer on this.
Sorry, why I asked this question is because I'm planning to do an LLM at London. So during this LLM, if I also start a QLTS and combination of both QLTS and LLM, will it be beneficial to me? I mean, that is what a first question which I should have asked. So that's how I put it in this way.
If you want to definitely if you want to work in UK, not just London, but in the UK, I think UK law qualification is the basic qualification that they will ask. So it is definitely, then it's a yes. If you really want to work in the UK, you should consider doing this exam, because that's the basic requirement and you should fulfill it. But in terms of job prospect, it really depends on your previous experience and and what the law firms are looking for. It's hard to give a conclusive answer on that.
Because I got confused between GDL, LLP, GDL route and the QLTS route. So I'm sharing my strategy. What I am trying to do is I am opting for an LLM, and at the same time I am trying to finish the QLTS within this span of 2 years. So is GDL route is better, or this QLTS route is better? What is your suggestion? What is your take on this?
I'm not very sure of the GDL route for foreign lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, actually, GDL, from what I understand, even I'm not too familiar about the GDL route, but from what I understand, once you do the GDL, you need a training contract, and it's
LPC.
not easy. LPC, okay, maybe, but even once you do the LPC, you still need a training contract to qualify as a solicitor. So it's not really easy to get a training contract for a foreign lawyer. And another thing that you need to bear in mind is that there could be like visa issues as well. So it all depends on whether a law firm is willing to sponsor your visa. So if you're a foreign student, they would have to sponsor your visa. So, they might not be comfortable with that. So if you, because I've seen a lot of students who've done the LPC and they've not got a training contract. So they're basically stuck in a way without a qualification. But on the other hand, with QLTS, the advantage is that all you have to do is clear the exam and you will get your solicitor qualification. You don't have to depend on a law firm training contract or anything like that to get the qualification. So I think this is a big advantage for foreign qualified lawyers, and it just makes sense for us to make use of it, because they're not asking anything. The only thing that you have to do is clear this exam and you get your qualification.
True. Thank you.
I think there is there is somebody who just passed a comment. Okay, so I can see Ayush has also raised his hand. Actually, before that, I would like to also just share the view. I mean, we have another person there's Mugira who's also joined, and she has a different sort of perspective on the SQE versus the QLTS. So maybe it would be a good time for her to share, except that I don't really see her. Oh, hold on. Okay, yeah. I'm going to unmute you, Mugira. You can, are you here? Mugira, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Mugira. Yeah, thanks for joining today. So
Thanks for having me.
So it might just be useful for you to share your views on, like you're a final year law student, and I think you were also sort of toying with the idea of taking the QLTS or the SQE. You had that question in your head. So what are your thoughts on, how you would like to proceed with, your route to becoming a solicitor?
So currently, I'm leaning more towards the SQA. This is because, I'm a final year student now, and the transition period for QLTS is only till 2022. So if I were to take up QLTS, I would have to make sure that I pass everything in the first attempt and there are enough finances. So that is something that I'm uncertain of right now, that whether if I start this journey, will I be able to complete it? That's one reason why I'm leaning towards SQE. Then again, finances. So although both exams are around the same cost, uh, I'm a final year student, so I would take time to build up even that amount of money which is needed for both the exams. However, now I did attend recently a conference called Legal Ed Conference. It was by a company called Legal Cheek, which is an internet company based in the UK. So they gave a few points as to how you can make your decision whether you want to choose QLTS or the SQE. So now almost all industry experts have said that if you have the time, if you have the finances, everything's proper, go for the QLTS if that's possible for you, because there is no uncertainty around it right now. Whereas when it comes to the SQE, there's a lot of uncertainty with regards to how it's going to proceed, what's the exact fees, and then what are the modules that will be there in the SQE too. So that's why people are like that QLTS is better right now if you can do it. Secondly, you have to know your why. Example, QLTS does not require work experience, whereas SQE will require 2-year work experience. So how do you fit that into your timeline? That is one thing that they said to consider. And secondly, the title of the module in the conference was SQE as a blank slate. Basically, they wanted to put in the idea that SQE is something that you can build around your experiences. So that's why I'm leaning more towards it.
Okay. I think those are some good points that you raised. However, I mean, I think there might be a slight difference in understanding with respect to the 2-year work experience requirement, because I mean, Asa, you might want to talk a little bit about that, because in fact, I was under the impression as well that you need the 2-year work experience requirement. But when I was speaking to Asta earlier this morning, she did say that, you know, in the Law Society website, apparently they've mentioned, I mean, actually they have mentioned, it's not apparently, they have mentioned that for foreign lawyers, they're not qualified lawyers, they will not ask for the 2-year work experience. So I think that's a relief definitely for foreign lawyers. Of course, they have not issued anything super official, but it's on their, you know, website of the Law Society of England. So I think we can safely assume that that will continue to be the case.
And even if they are asking the work qualification, so I actually emailed the SRA with regards to this. They said it can be gained in any jurisdiction. So for example, if I'm based in India, I can work over here 2 years, but then I would have to take it to a UK qualified solicitor and get it stamped or something like that.
Approved. No, I think that makes, yeah, that possibly could be the case. Like I said, there are certain uncertainties, but I think for now, we can maybe assume that they might not ask this requirement for foreign lawyers, right, Asta?
Yes, that's also my view.
Yeah. But anyways, Mugira, I think it was useful to hear your point of view, because I can understand if you're a final year law student, then you have too short a time frame to clear the QLTS, because 1 year is a short time. And let's say you do take the MCT in Jan 2021, you only have a year to clear the OSCE as well. And you don't know, I mean, life is uncertain. A lot of things might crop up. You might not be able to travel to London. So then what happens is you sort of get stuck in between, because you've taken the MCT, but you know, you can't really, you didn't have the opportunity to do the OSCE. So yeah, I think in your case, it does seem like the SQE might be like a better bet for you, because by then you would have started working and you'll have some funds as well to fund your further education. So yeah, that's an interesting perspective for the rest of you in the who are sort of toying between the QLTS and the SQE, especially if you're a law student. Okay, so I think we can move on to another question from Ayush, because he had raised his hands. So I'm going to unmute you, Ayush. Sorry.
Yep.
I think, yeah. Hi,
So,
Ayush.
hi guys, hi everyone. My name is Ayush. I had a couple of questions regarding the existence of, regarding the existing manner of how you need to prepare for the QLTS itself in its present form. How much time period it takes, and what are the resources that you can gently access, as opposed to even something that you can use for self prep, as well as courses, if any, available for QLTS prep. Sure. Just these three questions.
I can go with the time frame required. For
Sure.
me, I can recommend 6 to 7 months for each part, like MCT 6 months, and then for OSCE also 6 to 7 months. It's because I really believe in spaced learning. I really believe that if you learn with some, if you give yourself a lot of time, it's 6 more, and it is. Of course, it's one thing is to pass the exam. The other thing is to use the knowledge in future. So for me, I really gave myself a lot of time, and I would only recommend a lot of time to be given, especially now that we have time and we're working from home. So yeah, I would say 6 to 7 months for each part. What about
Yeah,
you, Yash?
I would actually add a small point here. So for MCT, to be honest, I sort of studied only for about 2.5 months, or maybe even 2 months. But I would definitely say that it was rushed for me, and I was sort of panicking at the end because there was a lot of sort of course to sort of cover. But of course, I think from the perspective of passing the exam, I could do that. So So yeah, I mean, like, let's say if your objective is just to pass the exam, yes, you can definitely probably fit it within a shorter time frame. Having said that, it's always better to have like a longer time frame, because then you actually get to learn. So I do think that for the MCT, my learning was not that great, but for the OSCE, I gave myself a little bit more time and actually sort of enjoyed the process as well. So that was my experience.
Thank you. And as regards any resources that could be accessed for free or in the paid form?
So Ayush, have you registered for the MCT, or is it for the MCT or the OSCE?
Not for either yet. I just want to gain a little bit more information before I actually register.
I see. Okay, so I can give you a quick overview, and Asta, you can join in as well. There are a couple of there are training providers for MCT and OSCE. There for MCT, I guess Asta as well used QLTS School, and they were quite good. It's just that they can be a little expensive, and that's where QLTS Geek, we're also trying to sort of make it a little bit more affordable. So we're going to have like practice questions and stuff on our app, as well as like certain bite-sized information that would be useful for candidates. And so there's QLTS School, there's QLTS Advantage, there's also Barbary. But yeah, I mean, they are slightly on the expensive side. So, but I'm sure I mean, like, I did QLTS School, and for MCT, I definitely found that they were decent. They had decent practice questions. But I don't really think you have any free resources as such for the MCT. You can sort of buy like certain Oxford University Press books for the MCT. But again, like, I don't think there's any free resources. Asta, are you aware of anything?
There are 2 sample papers on Kaplan's website to sort of have a look at what kind of questions are asked. But I agree, there are hardly free resources. It's all paid.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that answers my question, I think. And if I were to register for the exam that is the MCT that's taking place in Jan 2021, what is the deadline for that?
I would just say register as soon as possible, because seats fill up very quickly. So I also sort of face that issue where, if you sort of wait, then you might just lose a seat, and seats fill up really quickly. So don't look at the deadline on the Kaplan website. If you're sure that you want to register, then just make sure that you do it as soon as possible, as soon as it opens.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have another question from Harshit.
Yes.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Harshit. Yeah, we can hear you.
I was just wondering, Priyasha and Astha, whether I've only seen QLTS Geek ads on Instagram and LinkedIn and stuff, but is it like an app-based thing, or is it website? How do we access it? And I just wanted to know more about QLTS Geek as such.
Yeah, good question. Right now, it's an app. Currently, we're only on Google Play Store, but we're actually sort of revamping the app. We're working behind the scenes with a lot of content, and Asta has been working a lot on content as well. So hope we're trying to aim at launching sometime mid-June, so that we can sort of aim for, so that we can have at least our resources for the MCT candidates who are appearing in July. So right now it's going to be both a web and a mobile app. It will be available on Google Play Store as well as App Store. Yeah, so it's going to have a lot of bite-sized information. It will have cheat sheets, flashcards, practice questions mostly for the MCT. And in due course, and hopefully very soon, candidates will also be able to connect with each other on the app. You can also connect with people who've sort of cleared the assessment. So you will have mentors who can sort of help you with the process. And in due course, we will also sort of cater to the SQE as well. So we're not just looking at the QLTS, we're looking at the long term, and we're partnering with a few publishers as well to get their content on the app. So you will actually have content not just from us, but from reputed UK publishers as well. So that's the quick update on QLTS Geek.
But I had one more thing. So is it enough on its own to be enrolled with QLTS Geek, or we need some other resources as well? So it's just an app for bite-sized information, or would it have all the information?
That's a good question. So, I mean, ideally, you would have to supplement it, at least for now. We're not at the stage where you can just rely on the app and, clear the exam. But we're very cost effective. So, like you don't have to pay like £1,000 to access content from us. Our, content is going to be stuff like, like let's say $15 or $10 to access some, let's say a flashcard or something like that. So you would have to buy like I would say the Oxford reference books. So, to supplement your studies, because right now we're focusing on a little bit more on the go, learning on the go. And maybe in the long term, we will have something which is a bit more comprehensive. And once we're, and you could, especially for the OSCE, you would need to have, you would need to do a lot of practice questions, and we don't really have practice questions in the OSCE yet. So we're doing that for MCT, which is going to be quite useful. But yeah, I mean, like, yes, you would still have to, I mean, I have to be honest, say you will need to supplement your preparation. This is more like something that's going to help you learn on the go.
Just to add to that, yes, the Oxford books are really good. So Oxford publishing books are really good. And our practice questions for the MCT also follow the same pattern, which is tested in the exam. So it will hopefully give a good practice material for you to be prepared for the exam as well. So of course needs to be supplemented by the books to get the theory and the exact knowledge. Cannot replace that actually.
Yeah, I guess what we're also sort of trying to do is to give you some guidance as to how to sort of go through the books. Like, for example, when I studied for OSCE, I didn't really, to be honest, I hardly touched my Oxford books. What I wanted was somebody to tell me what I need to study, because as a practicing lawyer, you don't really have the time to prepare. So I had to somehow find certain information and videos from from different avenues to try to understand what I need to study exactly. So I think that's what we're also trying to do. We're trying to guide you with what you need to study. So let's say that we'll tell you that these are the important topics you need to focus on, and then you can sort of just read those those sort of areas from the book. Especially if we're not, because we'll give the basic information, and definitely you can go in depth by reading those areas from the book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just trying to see. Is there any other question you have, Harshit? Or because I can see other.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. There's a question from Shatrunjay, so I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, hi Priyasha and hi Asta. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so my question is more for Asta. So I believe you have done your LLM from Germany. So yeah, so I have actually received an offer from Humboldt University in Berlin for an international dispute resolution course. So I reached out to a couple of alumni from the university, Indian alumni who are working in the Frankfurt offices of British law firms in the international disputes team. So I wanted to know how QLTS would, make me stand out, from within my peers if I am looking forward to working in Germany after my master's. Because because most of the firms are British based, like Linklaters and all, they all have offices in Frankfurt. So yeah, I just wanted an opinion on that.
Yes, I think apart from learning, my other motivation was to get sort of good standing in the German market, and it has, especially after Brexit, there are a lot of firms which are based in the UK, but they have offices in Germany or the continental Europe. Definitely the chances they increase immensely if you are already in Germany, especially for Germany market. What they really like is masters in Germany as well. So since I've done my LLM in Germany, it really helped. I did have a job before doing my exam, QLTS exam, so that was not like that was not like my motivation to get a job. But I think it will definitely help people who will do it in future. Mix the German LLM with the QLTS. I think it will really help you as well. This is my personal opinion.
All right, thank you. And my other question was with regards to SQE2, which I believe has already been answered by Ira over here. I also have 3 years of experience of working in India. So I believe, as you said, the SQE website says that it is not necessary to have an experience if you're a foreign qualified lawyer for writing the SQE2. All right.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I mean, at this stage, it appears that you wouldn't need the 2-year experience to write the SQE2, because the Law Society has mentioned that for foreign overseas qualified lawyers, they will not ask for this.
All right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. I think we have a question from Shreya, so I'm gonna unmute you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for conducting this session, Priyasha and Asta, if you're doing well. Actually, to add to one of the previous questions, what I was thinking is that, so maybe probably, as you very correctly said, the MCT preparation course for from QLTS school is pretty expensive. So would that be an option? Like, I mean, I just checked, it's probably twice the cost of the examination itself. So probably, would that be a viable idea if one would probably check the QLTS Geek app and other resources, probably going through blogs and just doing it manually, sort of scavenging through, and then thereafter, while once he or she qualifies the MCT, then probably will be a good idea to supplement the preparation by enrolling for a QLTS advanced course for the OSCE itself. That is obviously presuming one is appearing in the next year and the last possible installment as well. So do you think that's a good preparation strategy, like clearing the MCT? Again, that would be a presumption that the clearing the MCT is a bit easier than OSCE, I guess, or it requires a lesser effort, as you also said, probably while you're stating your preparation months, Priyasha specifically. So do you think that would be a good idea of not opting for the QLTS school or any preparatory courses right now for the MCT, and thereafter for the OSCE stage, maybe enrolling for some tutorial and paid course providers or something like that?
Well, I would say, yeah, I mean, like you would, let's say you didn't want to take any particular training provider for the MCT, then what you'd have to do is you'd have to buy the Oxford University Press books. And you would also need to practice questions. Now, practice questions is definitely something that we're, going to be providing. I mean, quite soon, pretty much when the launch is the app, when the app is launched. We're also going to be adding in due course even more practice questions than what we have. So our aim is to essentially make sure that candidates who have not taken sort of help of any training provider, they would sort of be able to sort of clear the exam with our content as well as the Oxford University Press books. So yeah, I mean, I would say that if that is definitely one strategy that you can sort of take up. Asta, do you have any views on that?
No, I agree completely. But just for the OSCE as well, we are looking to build the content. I think I would just say that watch the space and wait for more announcements.
Yeah, like I said, we're soon going to try and have mock tests for OSCE as well. So it's going to be a lot more cost effective if we're, once we're able to implement that. So yeah, I mean, just keep a lookout for updates and stay in touch, and we'll definitely keep you posted.
Definitely. Thank you, guys.
There's a question from Tanmeet, so I'm sorry, I should have reached out to you earlier, Tanmeet.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Okay, so my question basically is post one qualifies both MCT and OSCE. So let's say you crack both the exams. Now they need some sort of letter of good standing from your respective bar council, right? So what was the procedure like? Was it a straightaway application to the office in Delhi where you guys went, said that you need a letter and they gave you and you just posted it, or how complicated was it?
Yes, it was. For me, it was not complicated.
I'm registered with the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, so it wasn't complicated for me as such. In fact, I wasn't even in Mumbai at that point in time, but fortunately, somebody from my, every sort of Indian law firm has this court guy, right, who goes to the courts for filing all these papers. So I just asked him to help me with getting the certificate, and he said it's quite straightforward. So I just had to write a letter, sign it, and with that letter, he was able to get me my good standing certificate. I don't know about Delhi. Is the process different, Asta?
And they are quite aware of the foreign qualified lawyers as well. So it's a standard process, a standard template they have.
Yeah.
Okay. So and what about that letter being used with the SRA? Do they accept it, or do they want more references? Do they need reference letters, or is it just that one letter and that's it? You are straight away registered with the law society. What is the procedure?
Yes, it's a straight way. Just your letter from Bar Council and your police certificate for me, because I've lived abroad. For me, of course, needed a police certificate, and that's it. And think I don't remember any references.
No, there isn't. In fact, I've written an article on this, written a blog on this, all the documents that you need to register as a solicitor. So again, the only additional is like a police clearance certificate where, from all the places where you've lived for the past 5 years. So that is also sort of relatively easy to obtain. And you just have to fill up a form and just sort of certify yourself that your conduct is good, and you've not been involved in any criminal activities or something like that. And once you send the documents to them, within a month you pretty much get your solicitor certificate.
Right. Okay. Thank you then.
I'm just trying to see if there's any more hands. Okay. Great. So let me have a look at the chat. I think Rhythm had a question. How advisable is it to complete the QLTS for a fresh graduate, given that I do not have a training contract in hand? Please could you throw some light on the new route and why it is more feasible to start with the QLTS now and not through the new one? Yeah, I think Rhythm, I don't know whether Mugira's perspective would have answered your question. Do you think it did? Oh yeah, Rhythm does mention yes. Yeah. I think another question that I probably would pose to you, Asta, is about the English test requirement, because there is some talk about, the fact that if you're a foreign lawyer, you might have to, in addition to writing the SQE 1 and 2, you might have to give some English test or something like that. Do you think that's going to be implemented for foreign lawyers?
There's no certainty. ISRA hasn't really published something as a rule, but I think the exam itself would require you to have a certain standard of English, and if you don't meet it, you won't be able to clear it. So I don't think that there is going to be an English a test, but I think it will be just more integrated in the exam. The nature of the exam would require you to have certain standard of English, which needs to be met anyway. So I think don't have to worry about it in
Yeah.
addition.
Yeah, I think again, this is one of the things which we're not really too clear about the SQE. But yeah, hopefully they will not impose such a requirement, because I think as Asta said, it's quite, the exam itself requires you to write letters and do all sorts of drafting that you wouldn't really be able to do if you weren't fluent in English. So definitely, I think they shouldn't impose that requirement. But again, I think currently we're not 100% sure, I would say. So we'll have to again wait for clarifications. Okay, so I mean, are there any other questions? I'm just trying to see if we've sort of cleared everything. I'm trying to think at the top of my head if there's anything else that might be useful from a QLTS versus SQE perspective.
Just also from our side, if you have any ideas for next webinars, or if you found it interesting, we would be really happy to get feedback.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to hear feedback, especially because we would be sort of looking to conduct a few more sessions in the next coming weeks. One of the topics that we've thought about is about the MCT, because there's an MCT that's going to be held in July right now. So if you think it's going to be useful, then just, you know, reach out to us and let us know. And anyways, we'll also be in touch with all of you, because you've signed up, and then we'll keep you updated on, you know, when our app is launched. So actually, there is one question which Tanmeet has just posted on chat. I think it's a private question, but anyways, I'll just read it out. How much attention I wanted to know, in terms of the 11 outcomes, how much attention should one pay to subjects like finance, financial services, taxation, and accounting? Any tips? Well, again, you know, with the MCT, your goal is to pass. So they don't really count your score on the basis of your scores for each subject. They look at your collective scores. So let's say you're weak in one subject, it's okay. Because I remember, I did remember leaving out a few tax sort of, you know, concepts, especially the ones which involved calculations and stuff. But I think a good approach would be to go through all the subjects, try to understand the concepts. So what happens is that helps you eliminate, you know, like answers that you know for sure are wrong. So that would sort of give you an edge in terms of, you know, let's say you would probably have to choose between two options for the right answer. So that increases your odds of getting, you know, the right answer. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. You don't really need to don't waste your time on one subject if it's taking too long. Make sure that you sort of cover everything. And if you're stuck in one topic, just leave it and you can come back to it later. That's what I would say.
Also, I found that in MCT, they ask simpler questions for complex subjects like accounts or financial services. So it does give you an edge to clear the exam, just because they will ask simpler questions in accounts and financial services, which most people are likely to skip. So I think it just helps to raise the score and just to clear the exam if you can cover areas of accounts and not spend too much time, but because they are going to ask not that difficult questions on those aspects.
Yeah, I was just responding to Anna, because Anna had asked a question saying that, you know, are we sort of, we're working on a new version of the app? Yes, we are. We're sort of upgrading the app with a lot more content and features. So yes, right now the app is yellow colored, but yeah, we're sort of rebranding and choosing a different color scheme as well to go with our new, you know, with our new avatar. So yeah, you would definitely be informed very soon when the app is going to be launched. Ira, I think, has raised her hands. I'm going to unmute you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I remembered one more thing with regards to the when you mentioned the QLTS code. So some firms have a very different approach when it comes to SQE. One of the senior recruitment manager said they will be looking at SQE 1 score for shortlisting candidates. And one of the other, like Slaughter and Mace, senior manager said that they will be looking at a comprehensive profile. So even in terms of that, there's a little bit things are a little bit unclear as to the matrix of what they will be using. So yeah, just wanted to add that in.
Very different from the QLTS one.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just sort of responding to a few people in chat. So. All right. So are there any other questions? Any other questions? I think we've sort of covered most of the points. Okay, perfect. So I think that's about it. Asta, any closing remarks?
No, I think thank you so much for your attention, everyone. And
Yeah, thank you so much for attending.
Feedback, yeah.
Great. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And Tanvi, we'll probably get back to you for the next webinar. We should hopefully have it in maybe the next week or the next 2 weeks. But we're aiming for the next week. So definitely watch LinkedIn, and we'll probably email you as well regarding the next webinar. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and thank you, Astha, for your research and all the useful points that you've shared today.
Thank you, Priya.
Thanks, Mugira, as well, for your perspective.
My pleasure.
Okay, bye, everyone. So we're closing for today. See you again, hopefully, for our next webinar.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.